You made the right decision, but you're taking the wrong actions. You've made the right decisions, but you're taking the wrong actions. What's going on, my people? This your boy, Dr. Rogers, aka Master Teacher 33. Quick nugget I need to drop in your lap today. We've all, like decision making. You make a decision to be wealthy. You've made a decision to be healthy. You've made a decision to be wise. You made a decision. Now, after you make that decision, it's time to take some action. So your actions should take you in the direction of the decision that you made. So in other words, you should be getting some fruit. But many of us are stuck. So why are we stuck? So I have a new book in the audio for $19.95 that you want to pick up. But let's talk about the problem, because in the book, I break down the solution. But a lot of us, we don't recognize the problem, even though it's staring us right in the face. So the problem is, we recognize where we want to be. We want to be in a certain place. And we believe, because it's right there in our hands, where we want to be in our head hasn't manifested in our hands. So we have a conundrum. We got a desire. We got a goal. We haven't reached our goal. There's something blocking us from achieving our goals in life. That thing that's blocking us, as I've been sharing for 30 years, is your being solution. You're not being a solution. You're being the problem. You're feeling the problem. You're looking at the problem. You give your attention to the problem. You talk about the problem. You hang out with a group of family and a group of friends, and they all got the same problem. Everything, all day, 24/7, 365, is about the problem. Nobody's talking about the solution. Everybody's talking about the problem. Now, that's a good reason why we're talking about the problem. Because the problem is staring us right in the face. The problem is the elephant in the room. So, of course, we cannot help but see that big old elephant staring at us. Bam! The problem. So because we see the problem in the physical, we want to address the problem in the physical. If someone puts their hands on you physically, they try to hurt, harm, or defraud you physically, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to respond physically. You slap me, I'm going to slap you back. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's the system. And that system doesn't work. The problem is you're taking the wrong actions. We are all, myself included, that's why I'm doing the class. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm a master teacher, because I'm a master student. I'm always evolving. So, in order to be old and wise, you have to be young and stupid. In order for you to be old and wise, you have to be young and stupid. So back in the day, I was numero uno. I was the stupidest, dumbest mother beep 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 on the planet. I don't think nobody was as dumb or as stupid as I was back in the day. So, young and stupid makes you old and wise. And so what I'm sharing with you today didn't come from reading a book. I wasn't being the solution to my problems. I was being the problem. I saw the problem. I talked about the problem. I prayed about the problem. I meditated about the problem. I hung out with other people who had the same problem, just like you doing. Not you personally, people you know. So the problem is the problem. See, this is backwards, man. This is like reverse psychology. This is like double speak. This is like the Hegelian dialectic. This is like the Stockholm syndrome. We live in a world that's based upon the Stockholm syndrome. You know, Stockholm syndrome, where the abuser falls in love with the abused, fall in love with the abuser. Back in the day when I was a cop, I used to get those calls, man. Those domestic violence. The dude beat the snot out the girl. As soon as you put the handcuffs on the dude, the girl goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Get your hands off my man. Get your hands off my man. Didn't you just call me? Because this fool was beating a dog at you? Now, you in love with your man. And then the man come right back. A week later, slap the dog out of her again. This goes on. That's the average lifespan of the average out of keep it on. Non out of keep it ons too. So, how do you get out? How did I get out? Now there's levels to this game. Let's not get it twisted. In the Bible, since most of us came from a religious background, some of us are still there. As I break down in the book, I like to use a lot of spiritual and religious references. You guys forgive me for my, my breath, getting back into my routine again. So I'm a little out of shape. But in the Bible, Peter was called the rock. But then later, Peter was called Satan. Remember, he said, on this rock. Jesus asked Peter, who do you say I am? Peter said, man, you're the baddest thing since sliced bread. You are God eternal within the body. You are the Father. You are source code in the flesh. So, God said, Jesus said, Peter, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, brother. Source code revealed this. So, God told Peter, now in the book, I break down the solution. I'm telling you the problem, so that way you understand why you got to get the book. In an hour, I'm going to break down the problem audioly, and I got the book to go with it. What's up, Dr. Span? Both of y'all tuning in. Tell my brother, Dr. Jerome, hey, we're going to be up in Georgia in the beginning of March, so we can hang out and break some bread, you know what I'm saying? On your dime, Dr. Span. We spending your money. Okay, I'm just playing, Dr. Span, I'm just playing. But remember in the Bible, this is the key. I'm going to break it down later on today, about an hour from now. So you want to join me? It's only $19.95. $20, that's it, for the book and the audio. In the Bible, God says, Peter, he asked him, who are you? He said, man, you're God in the flesh. So God told Peter, Jesus told Peter, man, on this rock, I'm going to build my church. He was saying that Peter was a rock. He was saying that Peter was a high vibrational. He was solid. He was stable. He had a high vibrational disposition. Then a few verses later, Peter accuses, or Peter tries to step in because he didn't want his buddy, his leader, Jesus, to be crucified. He said, nah, man, this can't be. Then Jesus tells Peter, the same rock, get thee behind me, Satan. So he's telling Peter, or he's calling Peter Satan. But I thought Peter was a rock. How can it be the rock in one verse, Satan in another verse? Because Jesus wasn't talking about a person, he was talking about a disposition. Now, we are the rock. But sometimes we act like Satan. Satan simply means, the devil simply means adversary. Now, I know for all of you religious nut jobs out there, y'all believe there's a real Satan. Now, I'm not saying that there is. I ain't saying that there ain't. I'm saying I don't have no dog invested in that fight. I ain't got no money on whether there is or isn't. I know that the word means adversary. So anyone, any person, place, or thing that is against you being successful, any person, including yourself, if you are not making choices and decisions, you are a devil. Because you are opposing your own success. You ain't the reverend, ain't the doctor, ain't the bishop, ain't Donald Trump. You, boo-boo, you are your own adversary. You're standing in your own way because you haven't done what Peter did. You haven't done what all wealthy people do. The only difference between wealthy people and poor people is a disposition. The problem is, as I talked about a long time ago, I'm saying the same thing in a different way, in the book The Being Solution by Dale Rutherford. This guy changed my life when he taught me inside of his book, stop praying to God, start praying as God. His other book, again, Darrell Rutherford is the name of the author. His other book is entitled Be the Solution. So what I'm telling you today, what I'm going to be breaking down later, is how. It's easy to say, I am wealthy. Negro, please, stop lying to yourself. It's easy to say, I am healthy. And you go to the doctor, you got all kind of shitness going on. It's easy to say, I am wise. Because what you're saying is coming from your head. But what you're doing, Negro, that's coming from your heart. So there's a big difference between what Negroes say, Dr. Span, and what Negroes do. So I don't give a rat's behind what you say. Boo-boo. Negroes love to talk mad trash. Oh, we talk a good game. Right, Dr. Span? Man, I'm the best of them. Are you serious? You preaching to the choir, bro. I talk more trash than a little bit. I came out the womb like that, Dr. Span. Ain't my fault. But talking is logical. Feeling, actions, heart. Because if your heart ain't in it, Negro, you can't win it. Bam. That's the problem. But we got another problem. I know everybody on this call, your heart is in being a good provider. I know my heart, I'm totally committed to being a good provider and a good protector for my family. So why did I fail miserably in my first marriage and half of this one? My heart has always been in the right place. So what's the problem? The problem is the reason why you are taking actions, because you are being busy but not being effective. Being busy, though, that's not a bad thing. But it is a bad thing when being busy is more important than being effective. But we've got to break down the psychology behind money. We've got to break down the psychology behind being successful. We've got to break down the psychology behind good behavior. When I worked in the prison, what set me on this path, Dr. Span, I worked in the prison system, and I saw good people, but they did bad stuff. I'm talking heinous. I'm talking about stuff like you see on Dateline in 48 hours. I was talking to these men who are not saved, carrying Bibles, but they were killers. And I didn't understand, Dr. Span, because I knew that they wasn't saved. I knew that if you put them and let them out, because the recidivism rate in the prison system is like 80%. It's crazy. You let an inmate out on Friday. He be back in prison on Monday. Why? 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 Why do we do bad things? Now the Bible says the flesh wars against the spirit wars against the flesh. We understand. So the Bible says the solution is to walk in the spirit. We understand. We quote scriptures, right? Understand? We know this. Well, how come I'm doing things that's not effective? But then how come I'm right now doing something that is effective? Something that's simple as waking up in the morning and walking on a treadmill, walking around the block. There is no Negro on the planet that can look me in the eye and tell me there's no benefits to exercise. You can tell other people that, but Negro, you cannot tell me that. I'm 60 plus. I know dudes in their 40s and their 50s can't do half the shit that I can do. Why? Why do I wake up every morning and get my dark behind on this treadmill? Dr. Span, could you explain that to me? Why? But on the dark side, why haven't I went to school and got a trade or got a skill that is marketable? Meaning bricklaying, plumbing, carpentry, electricians. If you Google, you will see that there's a severe shortage in trades. But nobody's talking about trades. Why is that, Dr. Span? Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. See, we're not taking action. If you really want to be wealthy, you got to have a talent. You have to have a skill that's needed. Thankfully, I'm a teacher, and I have the ability to still do 4 things: reveal, explain, illuminate, simplify. That doesn't mean nothing though, because guess what? I was making $30,000 a month. Then that dropped down to $300 a month. So what I have to do, Dr. Span, if what you're doing is not working, you have to make different choices. But we can't make different choices because we're programmed. I'm programmed. You're programmed. Everybody's programmed. So we have to understand how we got programmed, how we stay programmed, and then how to reprogram ourselves automatically. I'm on a healthy program. I've been on this program because I was programmed when I got involved in sports. In order to play sports, they made us. They didn't ask us. They made us run. Especially because I played football, played basketball, I ran track. I never got into baseball. But all year round in school, Dr. Span, I was moving. I was trained since a kid to move. So I'm programmed. That's a positive program. Now a negative program. Negative program is being, what's the word? Promiscuous. I think that's what they call it these days. So I saw my uncles, nephews, all the men. So I was programmed. Now you should be saying the same thing I'm saying. How old are you again, bro? So I can't blame my childhood, and I'm damn near 70 years old. I can't be walking around here blaming the white man, and I'm knocking on 70. I can't blame my ex-wife, can't blame my kids, I can't blame the neighbor, I can't blame my monkey and my squirrel, but Negroes do. Show me a Negro with a problem, I'll show you a Negro with an excuse. We all got them. I got them too. So we have to come up with a solution to get past our negative habit, problems, which is our beliefs. Now, I've been saying the same thing for 30 years, but I have the same problem. It's just different levels. So, what used to work on the lower level, Dr. Span, you remember, I used to teach willpower, bulldog tenacity. Just make up your mind, brute force, punch them in the mouth, take their stuff. That works until you run up against somebody that's bigger and badder than you. You run up against a dude, 6'5", 300, and you punch him in the mouth. And he look at you and laugh. And then when you punch you in the mouth, that shit is hurt, Dr. Span. So this is what I'm talking about. I taught one thing when I was on a lower level because it worked. I made a lot of money. I was wealthy. I was healthy, wise, great relationship. Then all of a sudden, Dr. Span, everything stopped working. This is what they don't teach at Ebenezer Baptist. What works in elementary school, that garbage doesn't work in middle school. What works in middle school doesn't work in high school. What works in high school doesn't work in college. What works in college doesn't work in real life. So I'm saying, I'm graduating from college. I'm in real life. So this class, this book is for Negroes like me. You're at the highest level of the game. You went through all the other levels. There's 7 really. You went through all of them. The highest level of the game. At this level of awareness. Now remember, all the other levels that I've taught over the last 30 years, they all work. If you're in elementary school, and there's a lot of colored folks, they love Jesus Christ and crucified. They didn't read Hebrews 6. They don't want to be mature. They don't want no meat, Dr. Span, Dr. Jerome. They don't want no meat, Dr. Jerome. They cool with the milk. So if you're a baby Christian and you like the milk, Jesus Christ and crucified, boo-boo, do you. This ain't for you. This is for higher level people who ready to eat some steaks. Steak and taters. So Negro, if you like steak and taters, if you want to get in the flow, if you want to get in the nose so you can get in the flow, you want to get out of struggle fest, you want to get that struggle magnet out your pocket, you're always attracting struggle. If you're tired of attracting struggle, if you're tired of attracting struggle in your life, join me in about 20 minutes. Join me in a few minutes and pick up the book. Why? You making good decisions, but you taking bad actions. Your actions that you're taking are not moving you in the direction of being wealthy. The actions that you're taking are not moving you in the direction of being healthy. That's a big one. So you know, to be healthy, Negro, you cannot eat a whole box of Krispy Kreme donuts and drink Kool-Aid with 2 cups of sugar in it and go to sleep. You know this. You cannot eat a Southern slave diet. You know this. You don't get on the treadmill, not you personally. You never walk around the block. Your heart rate never is elevated. And you're wondering why you got health problems. So you know what to do, but your actions don't line up with what you know. Y'all ready? I'm going to send out the link to the audio. Join me in about 30 minutes as we break down a solution to why people keep taking and making bad decisions. Why are we making choices and decisions? We're taking action, but the action is not solving the problem. If you're still struggling, if you're still stuck with a problem that you've been stuck with for a long time, after today, that demon, like remember, he told Peter, On this rock I will build my church. A few minutes later, get thee behind me, Satan. How can Peter be in one verse the rock and in another verse the devil? Well, you the same thing. Sometimes you make decisions that take you to heaven. There's other times you make decisions and they take you to hell. You are your own best friend and your own worst enemy. I'm going to see you in 15 minutes. Let's go.